Hello, everyone. Welcome to another shared news from home. We are live right now to talk about the latest updates in Bachelor Nation. As always, I'm Hibba Berry, joined today by Avery Grooms and Gabby Gonta. Hey, ladies. All right, you guys, it's Friday, the end to a very busy week in Bachelor Nation now. So let's continue the trend and get started because we have so much to talk about per usual. Now, on this channel, we have discussed Colton Underwood's coming out story, his Good Morning America interview, Bachelor Nation reactions, but today we're going to talk about Billy Eichner's take on the entire situation. Now, to recap, Billy appeared on Colton's season of The Bachelor in 2019, where the comedian provided Underwood with some advice. Let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
Thing I do, I'm gay. I know that's a shock, Colton. And that I think you should look into. Maybe you're the first gay bachelor and we don't even know. No. Put that in your promo. See you later.
All right, so as you can see, Billy being the comedian that he is, of course, the context was in a joking manner, all in good fun. It was uncomfortable, yes, but nothing malicious. Colton clearly nervously laughed off the comment, and it's interesting because it's kind of true now, you know? So it kind of came a little bit full circle. Now, when you guys saw that moment in Colton's season, in real time, what kind of ran through your mind? Did you see any red flags like Billy kind of did, like, maybe Billy has a point. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't have made that comment. Avery, what did you think?
I was actually thinking, he might have a point. I'm no one to question anyone's sexuality, but I always thought something was off with Colton. And I think that was just him keeping a part of himself inside. He couldn't really open up to a lot of people. There was just this level to him that we didn't get to see. So when this happened, I was like, wait. And then to see his reaction, he didn't immediately deny it. And I feel like, a normal straight guy maybe would, but he kind of was hesitant and kind of nervously laughed it off. So it was definitely something to think about, but I thought it was funny at the end of the day. What did you think, Abby?
I don't remember watching this during Colton's season. I remember that Billy had an appearance, but I don't remember really thinking anything of this clip until it came out again this week. I thought it was so funny. I pretty much just thought Billy, like, oh, it's just Billy being Billy. Like, he's hilarious. But now that I look at it, in the context of this week, and then we see Colton's reaction, which he is very flustered, starts blushing a little bit, and doesn't respond at all. It's like, oh, shoot, like, this video actually aged really well because there were clearly some moments and hints of things in there that now that we're looking back on it, definitely makes sense.
That's so true. It did age really well because, I mean, cut to now, this revelation kind of was revealed about Colton. And it's interesting, like you mentioned, Avery, he didn't confirm it, he didn't deny it. He just really nervously laughed. And it's kind of like secondhand embarrassment where you kind of want to, like change the subject and like kind of move on. But yeah, it was, of course, Billy, just always Billy being Billy. And like I said, cutting to this week's announcement, Billy went on Twitter to say, quote, "Congrats, Colton Underwood. If you're gay, be gay. I've been gay forever and I love it." Colton responded by saying, quote, "Love you, love this now, and now I love being gay." Now, you guys, it seems like Billy caught it from the beginning and knew something was a little fishy. I guess Billy just has this exceptional gaydar of like knowing when something's a little bit off, and of course, we'll call it out regardless. But what did you guys think about this wholesome interaction that is happening now since Colton has come out? What did you think, Avery?
I loved this interaction, especially the part that he said, "I love this now." Old Colton would probably be panicking and cringing inside, but now we could all look back on this and laugh and see it in such a brighter light. So I thought it was really cute, and I think the video did age well.
Yeah,
What
I
did you
think so
think,
too.
Abby?
I think that it was really fun that Billy was able to just kind of come out on Twitter and, have support for Colton because we know back then, of course, he was being all funny and goofy, Billy was, but deep down inside, if that was true, he was obviously going to have support and probably be there for him. And it seems like that's the case. So I was glad that they were able to have a conversation about it after the fact.
And that's just something Billy does. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Billy. I love Billy on the Street. I think he's so hilarious just to like think like that on the fly. So clearly that wasn't scripted. It was, in the moment he just made that comment. And of course there wasn't any malicious intent. He's not trying to like out Colton or anything. He's just, making a really funny comment, which now ends up being true because it did like, kind of age well and it's the truth now. So it's just really interesting that he just had that, instinct of like, something's, not quite right here. But again, I'm going to leave it up to him. I'm not going to, dig any deeper. I'm just going to make this funny little jab right here. But you guys, we also want to hear from you. So let us know what you thought about this interaction between Colton and Billy. Very interesting, again, that Billy was able to kind of sniff it out a little bit. And be sure to send us all your questions, comments, and concerns. We'll be sure to shout them out during the Q&A portion of the live, which will be toward the end of the video. All right, so now that being said, let's move on from Billy Eichner to now Cassie Randolph. A source exclusively told Us Weekly that Cassie was, quote, not made aware in advance that he was going to be on GMA doing a tell-all. To be honest, she hasn't really had time to navigate how she feels about it yet, end quote. The source continued on to say, post-breakup was an emotional journey for her, and it was painful at times. She has not taken a lot of steps to move on in life and has been focused on her well-being and her happiness. She has not been in communication with Colton, end quote. And I'm sorry, I think I misquoted her. I meant to say she has taken a lot of steps to move on in her life, which of course, is always hard to do after a public breakup. And another thing to note is that Cassie is currently vacationing in Mexico right now. She posted on her Instagram pictures from the trip. So it seems like she physically, in a way, kind of distanced herself from everything going on right now. She has yet to respond to Colton's recent announcement. But to recap what Colton said about Cassie during his GMA interview, let's go ahead and watch this clip about what he said.
I would just say that I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I'm sorry for any pain and emotional stress I caused. I wish it wouldn't have happened the way it did.
Wow, so that was definitely a big takeaway from that interview because he's talking about Cassie where he had this high profile relationship with her, a lot of ups and downs in that relationship that were publicized. It was a roller coaster. We had, trackers involved, stalking, restraining orders. So there was a lot going on in that relationship. So with this context now that we have, this leads me to kind of ask, and I'm really curious for what you guys will say, is it proper etiquette to loop in an ex-partner, kind of give them a heads up when one person is going through a big, intimate, vulnerable change in their life, so much so that they, of course, have to go on a public platform and kind of announce it? What are your thoughts about this, Gabby?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a unique situation. I would say normally it would be really smart and thoughtful to let someone who you are very close to know about, changes in your mental health or something as big as your sexuality. That's pretty huge, especially when you dated them. So I think that is important, especially if you're a public figure, because now that Colton had this big interview, Cassie's name is just going to be tied to him forever because of the way they came together, because they're on The Bachelor, because they were so well known for being a couple for that year or two that they were together. So I don't know. It's tough because, I know Colton was trying to make this interview about him and about how he's trying to move forward in his life and what all he's been through and stuff. But Cassie is going to be tied to that no matter what. So I think he should have let her know. But then it also does make sense if they weren't in contact. She's out on vacation, probably doesn't even have a moment to stop and really think and process everything that's going on, or doesn't want to at this moment because it's kind of a lot. I totally understand all of that too. What do you think, Avery?
Yeah, I completely agree. You know, this situation is a little bit different for a lot of reasons. They didn't even end on that great of terms. It wasn't like they're exes who are still friends. There was a restraining order, and there's probably a lot we still don't know about. So I know they weren't in contact, and maybe he just didn't feel like it was right to reach out with this. I don't know. It's kind of a hard situation to navigate. And I feel like it depends on the people in the relationship on how one wants to approach that if this was to happen. But I just know they still kind of have a lot to figure out in terms of just other things being addressed, like the restraining order. I'm happy for him that he came out, but there's still other things that were bad that are left unsaid. So hopefully we'll hear more about it soon.
That's the tricky thing with the situation is because of course we're happy for Colton and we support him. It's a hard thing to come out, especially when you're a public figure. But you know, when it comes to talking about the good, we also have to talk about the bad. And the bad was this relationship that he had with Cassie. Again, like you guys mentioned, the ups and downs, the restraining order, putting a tracker on her car, and just like this toxic relationship that was publicized. You know, there's a lot more to it than just, you know, ringing her up and saying like, hey, like I have this on my chest, I want to get this out, like are you okay with it? There's a lot more to it than just a simple phone call or text to send her. Again, they've been through so much, so again, we don't know from a public standpoint. Again, they might be having, you know, who knows, private conversations, we'll never know. But it is a very tricky side and a big gray area in relationships when it comes to their specific situation because it's so unique and it's not like a one size fits all type of situation. All right, so we've covered Billy and Cassie. So now let's transition to fan favorite Tayshia Adams. She also had some thoughts on Colton's coming out since she was on his season of The Bachelor and even made it to the final three. So again, she made it really far in the competition. And she also shared some exclusive insight on how he acted while on the show. On her clickbait podcast this week, Tayshia said, quote, being on his season and getting to know him pretty intimately and getting to know him in a different way than I think a lot of people have been able to, there was always something that I couldn't get a read on him with. I feel like he was not always himself, and now it all makes sense. So, this is a very interesting point that Tayshia made, this observation and kind of pieced this reasoning together. So, Avery, do you think this is kind of hindsight? Is hindsight 2020? Is it now all making sense to Tayshia that maybe this was the reason why he behaves that way between them two?
Absolutely, because I feel like when she was in the situation, she was kind of questioning, what is it? Is it me? Is it him? And even as viewers, I felt like I wanted more from him. I felt like something was missing. And I was just thinking he was a boring guy, but he was just hiding a part of himself that he wasn't able to show all of us. So now that we know what we know, it kind of does all make sense. And I'm happy that he's free from his internal battle and gets to fully be himself.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good that we got Tasha's perspective from this because, like she said, she knows him a little bit more than most of us did because she got so far on his season. So I think, you know, even us watching, like you were saying, Avery, we sort of noticed something was off, maybe, you know, a reason that him and Tasha weren't a perfect match, like whoever's fault or whoever's side it was, Tasha or his. But even from her perspective, when she was spending time with him, even when the cameras were off, because they got that extra time together, you know, we've been having lots of conversations recently about the way they edit the show and what we really get to see of people on the screen. So I bet there were moments, you know, off screen or moments that didn't make it onto air that really probably gave some more signs about this that people like Tayshia and the other women he was dating probably saw as well.
And it's so difficult because Colton being the Bachelor lead, everything kind of falls on him to carry the show. And being a part of the show, again, we've said it so many times, it's such an untraditional, unconventional way to date and to find your love. But then again, once you're kind of closeted on top of that, and you're with all these women who are trying to shoot their shot at love with you, it puts a lot of pressure. And so I really can't imagine what he was going through, some type of like internal battle mixed with, having this pressure of being on such a huge public platform of a show, which is The Bachelor, which anyone would kill to be on. So it was such, I'm sure, a mix of so many responsibilities, so many pressures, so many expectations, and societal expectations too on who he's going to choose and how much they're going to be in love and if that relationship's even going to be successful. So it was just a combined effort of a lot of stress, I'm sure. And again, I'm just so happy. Of course, we're happy that he is finally out and himself. But back to Tayshia, I think, you know what, she just kind of had to take it as maybe a reason of they're just not maybe meant to be together without even knowing that Colton was battling this internal fight of just being his authentic self. So it was really unfortunate to see that the relationship didn't work out. But again, everything happens for a reason. Tayshia's now with Zach, so she's doing just fine as well. But Tayshia also continued on to say more about the relationship. She said, quote, I feel like when I was trying to have those serious conversations with him and when I was trying to picture a life with him down the road, there was always something that he would kind of put a wall up against because he couldn't fully believe that's not really what he wanted. And now it makes sense as to why he wasn't able to get there with me. So, however, he was able to get there with Cassie. So that's also an interesting angle to kind of look at that. So were him and Tayshia just not a good match? Or again, was Colton still confused during that time? Gabby, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it would sort of be a different story if maybe Colton went through the whole Bachelor process and then didn't end up with anybody. I think that would be more of a clear sign like, oh, okay, maybe, he really wasn't feeling it with any of the women. And maybe that's why, people were having doubts about his sexuality in general. But he really had a great connection with Cassie and they ended up dating for a while after that. So it kind of is more surprising in that way because we don't know what he was thinking or what he was feeling during that time. He's said he loved Cassie. He's wrote about her in his book. So it seems like that was a true and genuine relationship. So yeah, in terms of Tayshia, maybe they just weren't a great match. It does seem like he fell for Cassie, but I think we talked about it before that maybe Cassie was just this one, solid gold piece of, trying to hold on to his sexuality of being straight, which it sounds like he was really, battling with. So I feel like Cassie was sort of the person to chase for that reason. And that's maybe why when they ended up not working out in the end, he really got to sit down and think about things differently again.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think Tayshia had anything to do with it. I just think Cassie was this one girl for the first time ever in his life that he had these feelings for. And, as the relationship went off, even after the show ended, he got very fixated on her. And I think he just wanted to hold on to this emotion. But probably on the inside, it was probably confusing him even more, knowing what we know now. So it's just a very interesting dynamic of how it all unraveled. I just think Cassie was just this one girl that really made him feel some type of way, and he couldn't understand it, but he wanted more.
Yeah, you guys brought up really good points with how Cassie just seemed to be that last chance of having the traditional family and that last chance of, not giving into his actual authentic self. And maybe that's what caused him to, desperately make this relationship work, which came to, the stalking and the the tracker and like that whole situation. So it did seem like, this was his last chance to make it work as a straight man. And unfortunately, it just fell through because that wasn't him. That wasn't who he was. And now that kind of led to him embracing who he is full, basically like 100% just being who he wants to be. And but it's just so unfortunate that Cassie had to go through that in order for Colton to realize who he truly is. And so I just really feel for her. And again, like you guys mentioned, Cassie will forever be tied to kind of Colton's name because again, that relationship was just such a mess. And I'm sure there was a lot of deep turmoil that had to be kind of figured out. But I'm sure now with Colton finally embracing who he truly is, this will just hopefully foster more healthy relationships. And I hope again Cassie is able to move on, because that can really cause a lot of trauma in her life. And I hope again she's doing well as well during this time with Colson being in the headlines once again. But back to Tayshia, she did end her comments with her support for Colton, saying, "quote But all in all, the happiness that I have for him, that he's finally able to live his truth and to be out, and the sense of relief that I got from his interview is something that I have to commend immensely, and I'm just so happy that he's able to just be him." Now, Tayshia, along with Hannah G, was one of the women he was the closest to during the show. What do we think of Tayshia giving support to Colton? Avery, what do you think of Tayshia's comments towards him?
I think it's like a perfect classic Tayshia response, and I think we all can agree with her. We're just happy to see him be himself and be happy. I feel like watching that interview, just as a viewer, I felt the relief as it was going on, and you could see him feeling more relieved. It's just a huge weight lifted off of his shoulders, and everyone who he surrounds himself with, who supports him, his loved ones, everyone's relieved and happy when someone can be their full authentic self. Gabby.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, as you said, Tayshia was really close to him, so she got to see some of those moments of him probably struggling back then. And especially with what we know about him and Cassie's relationship and how it ended, there was just a lot going on there. So it seems like he at least has turned a corner and is now able to, start living his best life and try something different, because what was, going on before obviously wasn't working for him. So I think these were really sweet comments from Tayshia, and a lot of Bachelor Nation has also come to his support like this.
Right. And Tayshia, we love her. She always keeps it classy, cool, calm, collected. She's always there to support and is always a shoulder to lean on, during her season and with other people that she's had relationships with in Bachelor Nation's franchise. So she always has the right intentions, and she's always such a sweetheart and always says the right thing. So we love her. But you guys don't forget to let us know what you think about these new details Tayshia revealed during her time on Colton's season. We'll be sure to discuss during the Q&A portion of the live, which will be towards the end of the video. So please be sure to give us all your comments, your questions, and thoughts about everything we've discussed so far. But moving on from Colton, let's now talk about our other favorite couple, Clare and Dale. We have some new bombshells dropped from Dale in a recent interview on the Hollywood Raw podcast this week. Dale opened up about where him and Clare are currently at, and he addressed those cheating rumors from their split. Now, we all know that the cheating rumors played a huge part supposedly in their breakup, so it's really interesting what he says. He actually denied them all, and he said, quote, "That was never a conversation. Even when we went through our split, it wasn't even a thing. It was never even a topic of conversation. You really have to look past that and focus on one another." I mean, that sucked. When things are going at your character and something you're completely against, those are the hardest things to handle, end quote. Now, if he didn't cheat, then why would cheating rumors start if, again, they weren't true? The saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. So, Gabby, do you have any thoughts about why these cheating rumors even existed if it wasn't true?
That is a very good point. I don't know. When I heard the rumors at first, I immediately thought they were true. I think it might stem from the fact that people were always a little fishy about Dale and whether he was truly committed to Claire because of how fast
Hmm.
everything happened, and how just even in like this interview or some of their other interactions on the show, it just seemed like Claire was way more in it than Dale, and he was kind of just like, okay, and like going along for the ride. So I think when these rumors came out, if, there was any truth to them, or maybe because of, he was spotted in New York a lot, maybe it was just kind of an easy thing to pin on him, saying, oh, well, he doesn't really like Claire. He probably cheated, blah, blah, blah. And then it got a little bit bigger. But I don't know. It's interesting that he's saying they're not true. I mean, I don't remember what evidence is really out there other than just pictures of him at dinner with other girls or things like that. But it's interesting, I think maybe if he did cheat, that Claire wouldn't be so willing to get back together with him and start hanging out and spending a lot of time with him. Even as obsessed with him as she was, I think that's kind of a major red flag that most people steer away from. But I'm not totally sure. What do you think, Avery?
Yeah, I think these rumors started for a lot of reasons. One, because Bachelor Nation loves drama, but also I think people were doubting this relationship from the beginning. I mean, I know I was, just because of how quick and unbelievable it was. And then there was all the speculations of his friend, I think the real estate agent in New York that he was
Right.
visiting, and just correlating with his lifestyle. He liked to party. Claire wanted to be more of a homebody, and things weren't just adding up. So I think it was easy for like the media to pinpoint certain things and call him a cheater. Don't know if it's true. I guess we'll never know, but there was just a lot going on after they first split. So it was easy to just be like, he's cheating. And for a while, I believed it too. Now I don't know what to believe. I never know with these two.
Yeah, you guys made good points with the cheating allegations. That's something that's so easy to just pin on someone if they end up breaking up. Like, oh, they probably just cheated. Like, let's move on. But I think it's true. If Dale were to have cheated, I don't think Claire would have gotten back together with him because, I mean, Claire is at this point in her life where she's like, I need someone that's either in it, and if they're not, then I got to kick them out the door. So if there was some sort of cheating allegation that was true, I'm sure she would have cut him off 100% and wouldn't have even gotten back together with him. And it is true. I mean, it's hard to deny that we don't know exactly what Dale's intentions were to even come on the show. Again, they barely have time, Bachelor season, Bachelorette season as it is, but Claire and Dale were accelerated even more. They didn't even do hometowns, they didn't even do fantasy suites. They barely went on any couple dates like alone. So it was just so interesting to see that it accelerated. Not surprised that they broke up, but a little bit surprising that they did get back together. I don't think he cheated. Again, I feel like Claire is so over that, like trying to take back the man that cheated. Like she's so far beyond that. And there's so many different sides, pros and cons to this relationship working because, again, like you guys mentioned, different lifestyles. They live on different coasts and different ages as well, and what they want out in life. So this is really interesting. Again, I don't think he cheated. I just think they maybe just had a little rift in their relationship. They kind of wanted some time apart, maybe, to really figure out what they wanted and at what pace they wanted it, because, again, they sped up everything so fast. So hopefully, they last. Of course, like we're always rooting for people, to stay together and to make it work. But we also have seen these two out and about together in recent weeks, and Dale confirmed they are currently in a good place. He said, quote, "We've never hid throughout this entire time. We've been around each other. We are definitely taking time and spending time together. Claire and I were in a good place. When the time is right, we will definitely talk about all those things. For right now, we're just focused on one another. We're keeping things private, and that's working for us. In time, we'll speak about that together," end quote. All right, very interesting that Dale said they're going to talk about that together. And he said that, of course, in quotes. Those are his words. It's interesting because this leads us to think, will we get a bigger sit-down interview with them both, maybe before their contract ends or just after it ends, just to kind of maybe milk their Bachelor checks a little bit more, maybe after their contract ends. Again, we never know the intentions, but I feel like these Bachelor Nation people always, get a check at the end of the day because it's more publicity for them and it's more publicity for the show. So, Avery, what are your thoughts on them possibly doing a sit-down interview together?
I mean, I don't think we need it, to be honest. We've heard enough from them, and last I checked, they weren't together. Now they are together. I don't know anymore. I could see them doing it for PR, but at the end of the day, I still don't have that much faith in this relationship. Like, who am I to call the shots on this? But he was the one who, out of nowhere, was just like, he posted that Instagram story that they were broken up, and Claire didn't even have that conversation with him, and now he's over
Hmm.
here like, oh, we're doing fine, we're hanging out. It's just like, obviously we're all going to be confused, and he's acting like they've been fine this whole time when that evidence shows that wasn't the case. So if they want to do a sit down interview, so be it. They can go for it, but I don't know anymore. I'm over it. I've been over it. It's just on and on and on. What do you think, Gabby?
Well, I'm sorry, Avery, but I do think that we're not going to be seeing the end of them anytime soon. So get used to that,
True.
probably. Yeah, I don't know. I think they've certainly been hanging out a lot. It's interesting that Dale did a few interviews this week. He was on this podcast. He was also a guest with the Chicks in the Office, which are huge Bachelor Nation, news coverage, that channel. So it was interesting because we even did a video recently about how Claire and Dale haven't done any interviews really since the post show. And Claire even liked a tweet that about someone who was complaining about that, saying, "Oh, like, did the producers not let Claire and Dale do any interviews? Because we haven't really heard from them since blah blah blah." So we were really suspecting that they weren't being allowed to talk, or things were going on behind the scenes where, they weren't allowed to say certain things. So I think it's interesting that
Hmm.
Dale has had these interviews and he's opened up a little bit more about all of this. I honestly do think we'll see a sit down interview with both of them soon. Maybe around that time the contract is up, because I just feel like they have a lot to say about what happened on their season, what their relationship is like, and because it'll be big headlines as well.
Yes, anything for the big headlines. And Avery, thank you for being so honest because sometimes, yeah, you just can't stand these bachelor couples. They're just really trying to milk it all, trying to, talk to any outlet that possibly will let them talk. But again, it's really interesting that Dale was so blunt and open during this interview. I thought they were still going to keep it very, very hush hush until maybe a sit down interview where they could really hash it all out and get those, I guess, big number views for whatever channel or interview outlet they do it on. But I think because you're kind of dropping us crumbs here and there, like for example, this Dale interview, I feel like people are just kind of getting more of their questions answered and maybe caring less for this big sit down that supposedly might happen. And I just feel like, again, interest is kind of dying out for this couple. I feel like they're, it's inevitable that they might or maybe might break up because, again, their lifestyles are so different. And I don't wish that upon them, of course, but just trying to, play devil's advocate here a little bit. But again, we'll just have to see if they, hold it out. Of course, we want Claire and Dale to be happy, but we just hope they're doing it in a genuine way. And also, interesting point is that Dale said that they try to keep it private. Well, it's interesting because, they're on beaches twirling and, posing for paparazzis and like talking to fans that are filming them. So that's also an interesting point, just to keep that thought in your mind about him supposedly trying to keep it private with Claire. Um, but Dale was also asked if they are sticking to an engagement, and he did not confirm or deny, but instead said, quote, "I'll say this, Claire and I are in a good place, focused on one another, and leave it at that," end quote. All right. So that seemed like a very private, PR answer. We'll just keep it between us. We're happy. That's all that should matter. But why do we think he's shying away from the engagement topic, maybe asking if they're back together as fiance? Gabby, what are your thoughts about this?
I don't know. I think he's always been shy about the engagement topic. So I think he's still trying to get away from that. I think once you've been engaged to someone, that's a really far step into your relationship, right? You're almost going to be married and live the rest of your life together, or hope that you would do that at least. So I think when you're dating someone again, you've broken off the engagement, but now you're sort of dating still. It's like all the question on our minds is going to be, well, are you going to get engaged? Like, is this pointing towards marriage? And I think he's still not ready to have that conversation. Him and Claire probably haven't even had that conversation yet, or maybe they have and they've just been putting it off. But yeah, it's interesting that he didn't say yes or no. He was kind of just ignoring it.
I agree. I think he's shying away from the engagement topic. One, because he was already rushed and forced into one. And two, probably because he still doesn't want to get engaged. I feel like, I don't know, he hasn't even confirmed that they're dating again. You know, they already were engaged. It's just, this whole relationship has been so up in the air, and he hasn't been convincing me that he's that into Claire other than for PR reasons. So I don't know how serious he is about staying with Claire forever. So I think he's just gonna dabble around that topic for as long as he can.
Right. And the timeline of the relationship is so all over the place because, of course, they got engaged and they completely broke up, but then they're back together. But are you back together as boyfriend and girlfriend or back as fiance and fiance? And like, and are you going to get engaged again? So it's just such a mess and it's so hard to keep track of it. But again, there's no manual to dating in general. Everyone, of course, has their different interpretations and storylines of how you guys end up together. But it's just really interesting for us to watch and witness their specific relationship because it's so unique. And again, we'll just have to see if it even works out. But of course, not wishing that upon them. But now, you guys, it is time to hear from you watching right now, also known as, the Bachelor CIA agents, the FBI agents, whatever you guys want to call it. We are ready to take your questions. So be sure to send them our way right now. You guys always have great insight, so please share it with us. We always want to know what you think. Claire and Dale, Tayshia and Colton, Colton and Cassie, Colton and Billy. There's a lot that we discuss, so definitely send us your questions. And we have our first comment from Tiffany, and she says, "Love you, ladies." Oh, thank you, Tiffany.
Wow, how sweet.
Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for watching. Again, let us know what you think about everything we've discussed. We'd love to hear from you and anyone else that's watching right now. Looks like we have another question. Do you want to take that one, Avery?
It's perfect for you.
Yes, Eduardo said, "I'm honestly so tired of hearing about Dale and Claire." Thank you, Eduardo. So am I. Like, we're so over it. Why are we still talking about them? I don't know, because Dale likes PR probably. But we'll have to see what the latest update in probably the next week is on them, because there'll probably be something new again.
Very true.
All right, Sandra said, "Oh my gosh, yay, made it live. Hi, ladies." Oh, hello, Sandra. Thank you so much for tuning into our live. Sounds like she's a regular viewer of our pre-taped videos, but we're going live a lot more often now, so make sure you always tune in and you can chat live with us like this.
Ali says, "Cassie deserves a chance at real love now as the Bachelorette." Very interesting. I don't know if she would be down for it because, I mean, poor thing has gone through so much. I don't know if she'd want to maybe open up that door again. But, never say never. That would, again, be very interesting. Maybe she'll be the third Bachelorette season after Michelle, maybe. What do you guys think? Do you think Cassie would be a good choice?
I haven't even thought like that. Like you said, I don't know if she would even want to do that or put herself in that position, but I could see her being a good Bachelorette for sure. Yeah.
I feel like she definitely wouldn't want to do it. She kind of seems like she hasn't really, stayed a member of Bachelor Nation really. Like I never see her hanging out with like other Bachelor people. I feel like she just kind of like let that go and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this user says, "I need more Bachelor in Paradise. I'm over these bachelors." Very true. The Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons do come with their own set of drama, and Bachelor in Paradise is a little more laid back and fun. So I'm looking forward to this next season this summer.
Yes.
All right, this next user says, who's excited for Bachelor in Paradise? Who do you want to see? I'm excited for Bachelor in Paradise because it's going to be the first time I'm going to watch like full-heartedly. Because sometimes I usually just catch highlights and like what's trending on Twitter, what's going on. But I haven't, really sat down and watched episode and every episode after. But now I've always said this. I think Brie would be a really good contestant for Matt James this season. Again, I just want her to get that redemption story because Katie is going to get it with her season of The Bachelorette. Michelle's going to get it with her season of The Bachelorette. But I feel like Brie was left hanging a little bit. So I think it would be really fun to see her. No one else really comes to mind except Brie. But yeah, I think Brie would be a really good addition to Bachelor in Paradise. What do you guys think, Avery?
Yes, I completely agree with the Bree statement. She still needs her moment, after that exit. Still not over it. So hope to see her there. I'm just really looking forward to Paradise just to get a break. I feel like it's been forever since we've had one, so it'll feel like something a little new, refreshing. I feel like we'll see characters like Bennett there, and then they'll probably just throw
Oh
Noah
no.
on there too for some contrast. And like the classic people who appear in Paradise. Who else do I want to see? I hope we don't see Victoria, but who knows? It's Paradise,
Good point.
It's kind of her thing. So yeah, we'll see. Who do you want to see, Gabby?
I think we will see Victoria. I also really want to see Maddie Pruitt from Peter's season because she was one of my favorites ever. She's so sweet and cute.
All right, we have our next question. And Avery, I'm going to let you take this one.
All right. Heart Eyes said, Katie is the worst. She seems so fake and forced. Really? So that's interesting because I know a lot of people thought she was very authentic and not fake and like humorous. So I guess it's all perspective, I don't know too much about her other than the stuff we've covered, and I want to see how she takes on the role as being Bachelorette to really decide to make another statement on her. But I liked her on the show. I thought she was cool, pretty kind of unproblematic. She was in the drama, but she wasn't the drama. So we'll just have to see how she handles this new season of The Bachelorette.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Are you
Next
guys
up,
excited to see? Oh, sorry.
You're all good. Next
You
up,
can
who's
go.
going to be the next Bachelor after all of our Bachelorette seasons and Bachelor in Paradise? That's tough. I haven't even thought about that because we've been doing so much talking about the Bachelorette and about Bachelor in Paradise. But I think someone like either Ivan or Ben from Tayshia season because they were just
Ooh,
awesome. What about you guys?
that's a good
Your
choice.
best?
Ivan and Ben, I kind of forgot about them. I think I'm still rooting for Mike Johnson because I feel like everyone wanted him to be the Bachelor. It seemed like all
Mhm.
signs pointed to him as the first Black Bachelor, and then Matt James kind of came and, took that crown off of his head. But I think he would be really good. I think he's matured. He's watched maybe what's happened in previous Bachelor seasons, especially with Matt's, storyline. And I think he could offer us a new, fresh take on maybe how he would handle it, how he would be a great lead. But also, I think, with the new faces that you mentioned, like Ivan and Ben, I think they do a great job as well because they had so much fan support. So I think they would still draw a good amount of viewers as well. All right, this next user says, do you want to see a Bachelor alum or maybe another new person? Ooh, that's also a good question. I think I'm always down for a new face because usually a lot of the Bachelor Nation people are recycled or they know of a person that can kind of, get their name, put through the door, their foot through the door. So I'm always up for a new person. I think that's always refreshing to kind of get a new perspective as they've never been on a set before, they've never filmed in this type of situation. But either way, I feel like gonna be a good decision. I hope to give benefit of the doubt because with alums, you kind of already have that feeling of you just know them already, you know what they're like, you can kind of root for them a little bit more as far as knowing their tastes and kind of how they might go about it being the lead. So again, I'm always up for a new person, but I feel like again it could go either way. What do you guys think, Avery?
I think it just depends on who the alum would be. Like you just said, Mike would be amazing. Um, Also Ivan, Ben. There's a lot of people. I like people who could get another chance at it, but then again, it is nice to see a fresh face and someone who's really in it without any other background. But are they even gonna do a Bachelor again after what just happened? I don't know. We'll see.
So true.
Right, exactly, because Bachelor has been put on the back burner for a while now. I mean, a whole year. They're doing two Bachelor seasons and then Bachelor in Paradise in the middle. So I think they're really trying to, disassociate maybe with Matt James's season, have people forget about it a little bit, and then move forward with hopefully a fresh new take. But Gabby, do you have any thoughts on whether you'd want a previous Bachelor contestant or a whole new person?
I think I would love a fresh face. It's also better though, sort of when you bring an alum on because they already have a following or a fan base that kind of, supports them and would be excited about it. Whereas if it was a new person, it's kind of like, well, we'd have known nothing about them. So that might be good, or it might be, not as good to have someone that we've already seen a little bit and that we know we like.
Exactly. That's a good point. There's definitely pros and cons to whether we get a new face or a face that we've seen before. But all right, you guys, that's all we have to share with you for now. As always, we want to know your thoughts. So if you missed the live, still tell us your thoughts down in the comments below. We always love hearing from you. Lastly, don't forget to follow us on all our socials. Please subscribe and ring the bell because we'll be back with more news updates and reactions and lives. Be sure to tune in. I'm Hiba Berry, joined today by Avery Grooms and Gabby Gonta, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.